Well, first, thanks for having me. And I am Ben Dubansky, and I'm from the University of North Texas Developmental Integrative Biology Cluster. And I'm going to talk on a few different things loosely connected to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. So this is an experiment that went wrong. We can't not see that this isn't beautiful, and I made this image a while back when I first started my science career, when I was being mentored by this guy, Dr. John Lynn, who taught me everything I know about microscopy. And I found something beautiful in this failure when I was culturing some cells, and this just didn't work out, and I ruptured the cells, and I decided to take the time to image this failure. But it is beautiful, and I do like that image, but not as much as I like this. So I am a developmental biologist, and watching life begin to grow never gets old for me. This embryo was exposed to low concentrations of oil and sediment, and what you can't see is that the heart is slightly deformed, but you do see that there is some hemorrhaging, and this embryo won't survive, but it's still beautiful. And another thing that we do at the University of North Texas is we're interested in heart development. And the heart begins as a tube, and it develops and forms, and we know that the heart is crucial to survival. It's the first organ to form, and eventually it develops into chambers. And a lot can happen along the way during heart development, that even a small alteration, as you might imagine, could have a drastic effect on the survival of the animal. And here, this is development gone horribly wrong, and you can't see the heart defect in here, but the heart is only actually slightly deformed from this animal, I can tell you. But this fish will not survive either, but it's still beautiful in every other way. So there's much we can learn from art and science, and we take many, many steps to get from here, from our experiments to the dissemination of information. Many, many steps along the way, and we have many methodologies that will enable us to record data, tasks that you might not be aware of. This is a microtome. This is one of the many techniques that we use, and what I'm doing here is I'm slicing a fish embryo into many thin sections. Using a microtome is really similar to learning how to play guitar. And if anyone's ever taught you how to play your favorite song on a guitar, you can play your favorite song, but it's probably not going to sound as good as the guy who taught you how to play that song, because he's an artist, right? So again, here's another case of development gone horribly wrong. The heart here is deformed as well. It's very difficult to see, but you can see some hemorrhaging and a very large buildup of fluid in this fish. And this is also due to exposure to sediments from the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Now, it takes a very long time through a lot of different steps, requiring a lot of delicacy and precision to get here. And this is a slice of a fish, 4-micron section, which is much thinner than a human hair. Then, of course, you get to the point where you have to image that section. And this is actually a number of different images. I can't remember how many, and they're all stitched together. And you can't tell. I can't even tell anymore. But the point is that much of what we do in science involves art. A lot of it is an art, even if we don't always portray it as such. But when we do, it can be compelling and beautiful. And more than that, art and science is very thoughtful. And yes, these are conjoined twins, and it's not due to an effect of the oil. It just happened. Things like that happen. But tonight, art is bringing people together to hear about the Deepwater Horizon oil spill long after it's been gone from the public. The news cycle is switched a long time ago, and but what we need to remember is what happened in the Deepwater Horizon spill greatly affected the estuary, and the estuary is the most productive ecological system that we know. But it's where the river meets the sea and where people live and cities are built, and future events like this no doubt will happen. And there's thousands of people like myself that are helping you to characterize the effects of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. In this picture, Captain Les is actually handing me a can of Vienna sausages. Mm-hmm. Many thousands of people were affected by this, and Kim brought this up before. And definitely every single person in Plaquemines Parish, down to the end of the world in Venice, the end of the Mississippi watershed. And many can continue to feel the effects and will for many years after. And the beauty of the estuary does hold great aesthetic value, and we all place much value in aesthetics. In fact, we place a dollar figure on every blade of grass, and every fish. And what we have is a natural experiment. What that means is that we didn't create this experiment, but it's there. I guess the oil is in some places, it's not in others, and that's a natural experiment. So the problem with this natural experiment is that industry scientists are going to demand a complete chain of causality. They do this from the oil through the genomics of the fish all the way down to the population level. And even though we've shown that the gene expression is divergent in over 500 genes coincident with the arrival and the location of the oil, it's not really enough. We've also shown that tissues show divergent pathology, like these aneurysms, hyperplasia, and biomarkers of oil exposure in red that are coincident with the arrival and timing of oil. And that's not quite enough. What we've seen is that even after we go through peer review, we get an additional review by industry scientists. Eventually, what we did is we characterized the developmental effects, and we found that they were pervasive in embryos exposed to sediments that we collected from these different sites. And you can see here the difference between an oil-exposed embryo and a normal embryo, and it doesn't take a scientist to see that there is a difference. And I can tell you from what we saw that none of these animals would survive. And we went through peer review, and then we got another peer review by industry scientists. Now, my argument for using developmental biology with the oil spill stems from a couple different facts. The first fact is that there's a potential for exponential increase in a population. So if you start off with two organisms, and they mate, and they produce young, and they mate, and they produce young, then we know how this works, right? And we see it in humans because of human intervention, that we're increasing our population. Well, in a natural environment, the reality is that populations remain in a steady state because resources are limited, right? In their niche, their resources are limited and they struggle. There is a struggle. And this is my reason that developmental biology is a great way to go to understand population level effects. In fact, it's perfectly reasonable to think that if the development of these organisms is affected, then the populations of these fish may also be affected. So, what we have is that something terrible happened and we're changing our environment, but that doesn't mean that we can't find something beautiful in it. We have a situation that's gone bad in our natural experiment, one we didn't try to set up, but it's here. And hopefully we can find something beautiful in this, and that we will also understand some basic science along the way. Questions to be answered, the ways we use our land in the future, and in the way we look at our environment. That's it.